I want to talk about this line in your story, that this is contingent on the two nations diffusing the trade hostilities that hark back to Trump's first term in office. Sid, that feels like a pretty big if.
It is a pretty big if, and I mean, obviously, aircraft deals have become a huge part of Trump's diplomacy efforts. And so every trade deal that he struck, we've seen an aircraft component in it. And so this would also be one of those deals. Only thing, this would be a far bigger defining sort of part of any deal. And for Chinese airlines, they need the capacity, they need the lift, they need to be able to upgrade their fleet, they need to be able to grow their fleets. And so they need the capacity, and COMAC is still not producing planes at a large enough scale for China to be sort of independent. So they are dependent on Airbus and Boeing. And for Boeing, China is a huge part of the market. There were about a quarter of their total sales in the sort of pre-trade hostilities, and now they're about 10% of the backlog. So essentially for Boeing to sort of go back to those levels, they need to get China on board. And so a trade deal which is sort of brings in a big aircraft purchase is a win-win for both sides. It sort of signals to the US government that China is willing to buy US planes, and for the Chinese carriers, it can sort of allow them to look at expansion and fleet replacement, which they need.
I wonder about, transportation is hugely important to economic growth. They need planes to be able to do business, and Boeing is a huge part of U.S. national security. Are we going to see any export taxes, the likes of which we saw with NVIDIA or AMD, or do we not know yet?
We don't know yet. I mean, obviously, we will see what the fine print of that deal is and what the actual sort of intricacies are. We still don't know what the composition of the deal is, what the airlines are asking for, because what we understand is that the Chinese government is currently asking the airlines what sort of capacity they need, what sort of aircraft they need, whether they need narrow bodies, wide bodies. And so we're still working on getting on those details. But as we get closer to the finish line, we might be able to see more of what the specifics of the deal would be.